Hey, hey, be careful with that. That's the most powerful trank gun on the market. Huh, got her in Mexico. Cool. Yeah, it is cool. They say it can puncture the skin of a rhino from 100.
What's up guys, it's Aiden, and today I'm going to show you how to make a banger on FL Studio. The track you just heard in the intro is what I'm going to be showing you today. There are quite a few tips I want to give to you today, so I really hope this helps you. First off, there are no rules to making a banger on FL Studio. There are only guidelines.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
But I will try and give you the tools to make your music better. First off, when it comes to tempo, there's a big range where you can make really good sounding music. But a good rule of thumb for me is to try and stick between 110 and 120 beats per minute. That's a good dancing pace. It's still a little bit slower than house music, but it's emphasizing the beats more because they're slightly longer. So I've gone with 118 for this song. First off, I came up with this sound on Serum. This is what it sounds like without any external filters. I've gone with a pluck this time. So the way I made this plucking sound is I'm using the filter and I'm modulating the cutoff using envelope 2. To make a wub, you'd increase the attack. Another thing to remember when making music is you want to stand out. Everyone's trying to make bangers, so it's important to make something that's different. So to make this sound a bit more unique, I've modulated the levels of this so that every first 2 beats, this modified square oscillator is playing. On the 3rd and 4th beats, this JNO oscillator is playing. You'll hear a slight difference in the sound that's playing in the first 2 beats versus the second 2 beats. So that's just making the sound a bit more interesting. If you want this Serum preset, I'll leave it in the description below. In terms of melody, this is in F minor. There are no hard and fast rules when it comes to making melodies. It can be major, it can be minor. That being said, minor melodies are a bit dirtier than major melodies, and they're going to appeal to club DJs a bit more, versus major melodies, which are a bit happier. But if you want your music to hit the clubs, I definitely recommend using minor melodies a bit more often. Then what I'm doing is putting that on my mixer. First off, don't be afraid of using Soundgoodizer. It really can improve your sound. Then putting reverb on the sound is really cool. So this is what it sounds like without reverb and then with reverb. So that's filling in the sound a bit more. Next up, we have the sidechain. For this one, I'm using Kickstart, which is a external sidechain plugin. It's the Nicky Romero sidechain. It's like 20 bucks if you want to purchase it. I'll leave that in the description as well. So this is what it sounds like without the sidechain and with the sidechain. Definitely makes the sound more bouncy. Then I'm using Maximus and I'm bringing up the stereo separation. This can be really good for making the sound wider. I've also automated the stereo separation on Maximus. This means that at the beginning of each beat when the kick is playing, the sound is merged, but as the beat plays, the sound widens. Next up, I'm bringing in Fruity Blood Overdrive, which is basically like a saturation distortion plugin. So when you bring up the preamp, it sounds grittier, sounds angrier. Something else I like to do is use a high pass filter before the drop. That means that as the drop approaches, more and more low frequencies get cut out. I'll show you what I mean. This means that when the drop actually comes in, the bass hits harder. Again, with the uplifter or the riser, there's no hard and fast rule that you have to follow. I've just used this sample from a free kit by Cymatics. Next up, it's a good idea to be using fills before the drop, so I've put in this tom loop. As the fill continues, I've automated the reverb so that it grows, and I've automated the equalizer so that the high frequencies get cut out. Now's the interesting part. I want to go through the drop with you. Firstly, and most obviously, the synth has changed. It's a good idea to switch up the synth at the drop, so I've actually layered in this BAE bass crushed guitar on Nexus, and I turned off the reverb. This is what it sounds like by itself without any external filters. That's still following the chord progression of the song, but it's slightly different, so the drop is another place where you can switch up the melody. And I again layered in the synth from Serum. The melody here is slightly changed to the original synth, but it's still following the chord progression. The drop shouldn't be a new song altogether. It should be an extension of the ideas that you've been building on in the track. If the drop has a completely different vibe to the track, then it shouldn't belong in the song. Say someone's listening to your song and they really like the start of the track, or they really like the melody, and then when it comes up to the drop, it's a completely different song. If that person doesn't like the drop, it doesn't matter if they enjoy the start of the song, they won't like the whole song in general. It has to have really nice flow. It has to feel like it belongs in the track. That being said, the drop should be the peak of the song, so you have to add something to the drop. In this case, I've added this heavy guitar synth. Then I've layered in this kick. This is my favorite kick. I'll leave it in the description. Then I've layered in 3 different claps. I have this one that's consistently playing every second beat. Then I have this really heavy reverb snare that hits every 8 beats. But when that's not playing, I have this version instead. So this is what the clap loop sounds like. Not a necessity, but you can use crashes and open hi-hats. Makes it sound a bit more interesting. This is probably the most interesting piece of advice in this video. If you're adding downlifters or sweeps to your drops, don't just drop the sample in and call it a day. Here we have this white noise downlifter. Nothing special about it, it's just a normal downlifter, but you can make it sound so much more interesting. Even just by cutting out the offbeat and making it a rhythmic sound, it can sound so much more interesting. That's already way bouncier. Then what I've done is I've sidechained it with the kick. That means that when the kick is playing in this section here, the sound is being cut out. So that's already working with the kick instead of clashing with it. Something else I like to do is add chorus to the sound. So I did that using Destructor and Fruity Chorus. So this is what it sounds like without the chorus versus with. It sounds super groovy and it works well with the track. So if you didn't hear it by itself, you might not even notice that it's there. That's when you know something works really well with the track, because you won't even notice it, but it will sound better. This is the track without the downlifter. It sounds good, but adding this rhythmic downlifter in, it sounds even better. Finally, there are so many good tracks out there, you actually need to make the song stand out. So by using some cool vocals or a funny quote from a movie you like, you can really stand out in the crowd.
Hey, be careful with that. That's the most powerful trank gun on the market.
That's it for the tutorial. If I make the full song, I'll leave a link to it up there. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at AidenKenway. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.